Florida's Space Coast, this is your career.
Welcome to Your Career. I'm Debbie Featherston, your host, and with me tonight is Johanna Gant. And Johanna, you are here to talk about volunteering, and you are really actively involved in the Melbourne Arts Festival locally, and so I appreciate you coming to share with us your knowledge and your experience around, volunteering. So I'm curious, so if I just want to start on a personal note, what types of organizations have you volunteered for?
Well, originally, when I was younger, I volunteered with my children's schools.
Okay.
To help out as the clinic lady in the cafeterias and field trips and things along those lines. My mother-in-law was a very big volunteer at her school and her daughter's school in the church. So I kind of picked up from that, and I seen how rewarding it was for her. So when I got the opportunity to volunteer, I jumped in.
Because you do work full time.
Yes.
You have a very big job.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's insane, but let's not go there.
No, that's okay. But my point is,
conversation.
when we're talking about volunteering, and
Yeah.
the reason I bring it up is because people who have careers should be thinking about volunteering. There's a lot of benefits to it. So I'm just kind of using a little bit of your story to unpack that
Yes.
and help them see that. So, so I understand being at the schools.
It was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of people that I normally would not have, and got to know the teachers and some of the other students and other parents, which kind of makes my world go round. The more people, the better. Not necessarily to have the bestest of friends, but just to meet good people and re-encourage your faith in humanity. With everybody working towards a common goal.
Yeah, that's pretty great. So how many years have you been volunteering?
I think it's 10.
Wow.
I think so. It doesn't seem like that long, but it all began because my girlfriend Linda, who's the entertainment chair and has been for many years, she was having so much fun. And I was like, here I go to work every day, I come home, take care of my, we just adopted a daughter at that point, and my mother-in-law who was ill. And so I'm taking care of all these people, and I never thought about taking care of myself and having fun at that point. So she was like, well, you should come to join us at the art festival. So I was like, sure. And here I am today.
Yeah, and your role, I don't think you do anything small. Your role at the Melbourne Arts Festival is huge because you're really in multiple roles, serving on the board. And tell us a little bit about some of the using your example again, help people understand what are some of the possible roles and ways they can
get involved.
Yeah.
When I first got involved with the art festival, they needed help with the statistics committee.
Okay.
So I said, fine, I would do that. It sounded like a real good way to get out there and meet people and do something good. The statistics gives us all the information we need to put together a presentation for the grant, so that when we apply for grants or sponsorships, we can give them the data that they need to see how many people come into the festival, how many people we bring in from out of the county, how much money they're spending, their average income, their education levels, and it gives us an economic impact on the actual festival itself, what we bring to the county.
Yeah.
So I got involved with that. Well, I found out I needed volunteers for this committee. I was like, what? Well, how are we going to get those? And the gentleman that I was working with says, I don't know. And I was like, well, I do. So we started participating in the Friday Fests, volunteering there to recruit and promote the festival.
Anybody that's not in the Melbourne area, they have once a month?
Yes, every it's
they
the
close the
second
downtown?
Friday.
Okay. Close the downtown streets and have all these vendors and booths out in the streets.
Yes, and food and fun for the family. It's a great family night. So after I finished with that, I found somebody to take my place, because you always have to look for your placement, whether and any opportunities you get. So then I started working with the volunteers, because I really enjoyed working with the volunteers themselves and recruiting and getting out there and meeting all kinds of people from different walks of life and different ages, from the schools through the, the community centers and such. Then there was a need for the artist committee to have a chair, because those ladies were going to stop working on the committee, and we just can't stop having this festival. So I stepped up and said, I'll do it. How hard can it be to manage 250 artists?
Little did you know.
After you've done, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, as well as statistics, we generally would touch about 600 to 800 people, you know, a weekend. You know, the volunteers probably close to that as well. And the artists, 250, right? This is going to be a piece of cake. Well, those artists are awesome, but they're very, very eclectic, eccentric, and in so many different ways, wonderful, wonderful people. And they're very artistic, and so very picky. And so it is a big job, you know, getting them to apply.
And that's a big darn deal for them as well, isn't it?
This is their bread and butter. This is how they make their living, by coming to these shows.
Right.
So when you put this on and you think about, you know, the artists that apply, you have 250 that you actually accept, and then you have to put them on the street. And you have to make sure that they all get what they want, and then you have to make sure that you're not putting 2 painters, 2 jewelers, 2 photographers, or metal workers or glass people all together. So you have to have some organization. I'm good at organizing, so this is what I've been doing, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job because no one else has come along and said, get out of here and let me do it.
Well, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. What really inspired you to, you know, get involved in volunteering? I know you indicated you did it, right, to connect with others. Is there something more than that, different than that, you know, once you did it?
I think I felt like there was more that I could do to feel worthwhile, the self-efficacy of doing something bigger than myself and very important to my community. I know personally for me is, you know, when we all come together for this common goal to put on this festival for our community, when we hear a student say, oh, I took a class that you gave us a scholarship for, it feels, you know, it didn't come out of my pocket, but I know that I worked hard to make that happen. The learning opportunities to, you know, grow leaders in our community, when you give them enough information and you teach them how to lead, you know, you're giving them all the foundation to get farther in their world. And it benefited me, it still does, in my own professional growth.
So it could be a resume builder, because many organizations have that cause or that initiative, but you're making a difference. You're not just existing.
Yeah.
Right?
You get to make some really great friends, true friends.
Yes.
And you can cherish that friendship, you know, that you've made working together on a common goal and a common concept. And when the art festival comes to life the weekend, April 28th and 29th, 2018, at Wickham Park.
And the last full weekend of
It's
April
the last
every
fourth
year.
weekend.
Yeah,
It's the last fourth
weekend.
full weekend.
Oh, full weekend, okay.
Yes.
Got it.
When it comes together and you wonder, how did that all happen?
Yeah.
And it just works, everybody works together. It's such a great feeling when it all goes up and it all gets done and you get through it and you know that you've made a difference.
Right.
With every person that's walked by and said, great job, you worked really hard, you guys are great, awesome. And being 100% volunteers, it's a big task.
Yeah.
You know, we're not the biggest volunteer organization in the county, but we are second.
Yeah. And you raise a really good point there. You know, many organizations like the Melbourne Arts Festival are 100% volunteer run, right? From the board to the committee itself, you know, people that are there on the weekend really helping out and making it possible, right, to get things done. It's all volunteer based.
Yes.
Now there's some challenges that come with that.
Yes, there is.
Right? And so, you know, I wanted to kind of look at that because there's really opportunity for people that are going, my career is stagnated, or I'm really disconnected from people in the community, or I'm new to the community.
Yes.
And I don't know anybody here, right?
Yes.
Great way to get involved. Unlike a large community, this is one difference that I think the Melbourne community really makes for people is you can, you know, if, I originally came from Indianapolis, and people with the Indianapolis Arts Festival, right, anything related to arts, it was a very select niche group, right? And if you weren't connected to them, you weren't getting in. Here, everybody is welcome to participate, and their values and talents are recognized. So let's take a look at some of those challenges, because what do you say, what would you say, based on your experience, Johanna, is probably the greatest challenge for a volunteer organization, right?
I say get the people to come to the meetings. I think that's the biggest thing. We have meetings weekly from January through April through the show, and just getting the participation from a lot of the committee members. They find something else to do on a Wednesday night instead of coming. Then, as it gets closer, they rely on the emails, they rely on secondhand information. When you're there every week, whether it's an important meeting or not, you still connect with those other committee members. And if you're not sure in what committee you want to do, this is a great way to meet the people, see what they do. And I believe that sometimes people are shy and they just don't know what to say. And so therefore I open my arms up and I say, hi. They don't get a chance to run away.
That's awesome.
So
you just bring them in.
Yeah, I do.
Like a magnet, they just attach themselves to you, right? That's awesome. Well, it sounds like to me that it's not just getting them to come to the meetings, but I would suspect that there may be an issue in, do you have enough volunteers?
No.
To me, working with a lot of volunteer organizations in various capacities throughout my life, it always seems that there's a need for more volunteers.
Yes.
Right? Not just the engagement, as you were describing, but it's also, we need more people.
Yes. There's a lot of really large jobs that need to be done. And when you have many hands, those jobs don't seem so large.
Right.
So it's important to have different people that are willing to do different jobs. And you might learn something new. You might use a skill that you didn't realize you even had. But you have to get out there and do it. And we welcome all ages. We have some kids on our committee. We have some older adults that are retired. The majority of us are, middle-aged working people. But the age range is vast when you actually get everyone together.
I think that's pretty great, too, because the high schools have this program where students, and I think this is all throughout Florida, where high school students need to get X number of volunteer hours to pass a specific course.
And they also need it to get their scholarships for Bright Futures.
Oh, yes.
So we usually get in touch with the schools, the guidance counselors through our volunteer committee, and other family and friends that have kids in the schools. And we get those students to come down and volunteer the weekend of the festival if they don't want to be involved in the actual committee and the organization of the event. But there's always a need. For their help. We have many opportunities for children. And it's good because, again, when you give of yourself to help someone else learn how to play, make a craft, or to, clean up, after this, and, it's the organization, how do I help set this up, and you give them a little bit and they take it and they take pride in it, and that's important. We've had a lot of volunteers actually come back after they volunteered and they're like, oh, I want to do this again next year. And next time you see them and they keep coming back. What else can I do?
Yeah.
So
there's the reward there, making a difference, because you've got a wide number of committees, as I recall, right?
I think there's 25.
25 different committees?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. What are some of them? Let's go through them and then we'll come back to the challenges.
Well, we could start at the 5K run.
Okay.
The 5K run is held Saturday morning of our event. And volunteers are needed for that event Friday night before to help set up the course, as well as get the food preparations ready and get all of the coolers, and they usually use children's pools, and we put waters in those and ice. So it's real helpful to have all that stuff taken care of, and the vegetables and the fruit sliced. And then the day of the race, there's always a need for volunteers to help pass out water at the different stops and pick up the trash so we can keep our county clean. And then also to, hand out the fruits and the vegetables and the different goodies that they're coming back for. And
that the runners are coming back for to stay hydrated or nourished.
And then there's, with the 5K, it's just that during the day. So a lot of times the volunteers will say, oh, I want to go do something else. So then they come to the volunteer tent and we send them on to either a Kids World committee where there's a lot of opportunity there for students. to help set up and help teach the children, because that's, I believe, from like 3 to 7 age group, if not a little bit older for some kids.
Yeah, I think your website says 3 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And so then, they help string beads, they help make sand art, they help get the entertainers ready for the stage groups. They help put out little pieces of carpets. My daughter has done that many times, and she loves it. Giving the kids something to be in charge of is a real good way to start teaching them responsibility and having faith that they're going to take it from there. And they do generally, for the most part, I believe, do a real good job.
Oh, yeah.
And then we also have our student art workshops that we need assistance with, because we have artists that actually volunteer their time throughout the weekend to come in and teach an hour class. And we need volunteers to help pass out papers, to pass out the information of what classes are happening, and as well as help clean up, put out all of the supplies, and then also gather them back up and keep them together in one space.
So lots of different committees, because you've already mentioned the statistics, and then we haven't got to grants yet, but I know every organization needs grants and sponsors.
Yes. The weekend of the festival, though, the majority of the need is in our when I say statistics, to go out there and get the surveys completed.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little 15 short, questionnaire. It's over and done with in no time. They have an opportunity, the people that are at our event, to apply, win a $50 gift card. So that's kind of nice. And then, of course, while you're asking people, when you're volunteering, you're asking people to fill this out, you just meet so many people, and a nice friendly face generally will get the people's attention. And yes, I'll fill this out for you. The tasks that go unnoticed until at the weekend of the festival is the grants and the sponsors, because those are things that are done prior to the event, and just like the advertising, so they have to be done in advance.
Yeah, and I like that you're going through this, because when people look at areas that interest them, they can, if I have a skill set or interest in advertising or writing grants or, any of these
selling.
other things, right? Selling, organizing, any planning, coordinating.
Yes.
If I love working with kids and I'm creative, all those things are great, right? Great ways for them. I want to just move us along just a little bit, Johanna, because I'm always mindful that we have such a little bit of time, even though we could take a lot longer. So, curious about, when it comes to the, what's involved in getting a grant or not scholarships, you give scholarships, but sponsorships, right? Getting the companies in the area involved. What's involved in those two?
In sponsorships, we have a committee that goes out, and they actually will approach a car dealership or a realty company or a cable company in multiple places. And we have a package that we ask them, would you like to be a sponsor for this, this, or this? And we have the presenting sponsorships for the larger funded, but we also have smaller ones. We also have sponsorships available for our 5K run, and then also for our student art competition. And that entails actually just going out and asking,
just knocking on doors and making connections.
Do you want to sponsor us? Here's the levels that we have available. Which one would you be interested in? And the worst they can do is say no. And if they don't say no, we're the winners, they're the winners, because we promote them as our sponsors, and we put their name on our posters as well as on placards during the festival.
So increasing their visibility is a great way.
Because that's
right. That's part of what they're getting from it, is increasing visibility, and also maybe it's a cause, maybe giving back to the arts, or knowing that some effort that they have made is going to go into some of the sponsorships that or scholarships that go to the kids.
Yes. Right.
That are getting degrees in
art. Well, we've changed our scholarships around a little bit, just so a little FYI. Instead of giving out a 4-year scholarship for 2 students a year, we decided we weren't reaching the students because the rules were kind of strict. It had to be a 4-year college art degree, a major. And as we all know, you can only make so much money making art.
Certainly.
So a lot of kids are using that as a minor, and students are using it as a minor instead of a
Okay.
major. So we decided to expand it to all of the Brevard County students in junior and senior high school to actually apply for a scholarship we will give to them for any type of art, from visual arts to music, performing arts, all of the arts.
That's great.
And so our limit's $300, and the kids have to fill out the application on our website and send it in. And we evaluate it, and
there's specific criteria then for eligibility and rewards.
I really believe that it's the want. If they want, I think, and they prove it to us that they're that interested, we will follow through with our part.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the grants, as we were going through, but that is a lot of finding the places that are giving grants.
Yeah.
We have a couple of publishers that do give grants, and then there's a lot of different health corporations that do as well. So it's digging in deep into their websites and then following their direction. And writing grants is more just giving all of the information about the festival in the most positive light possible to get them to provide us with that grant. I just applied for one the other day for $100,000.
Whoa.
I know. I was like, oh, would that be just awesome? I'm not sure if I'm going to get it, but you know, if it happens, it happens. It'd be great for our organization, and it would take a lot of the stress off of some of the other issues and aspects of our event, putting it on for the community.
Well, and it does take a lot of money to run these events, right? And any nonprofit, such as the Melbourne Arts Festival. And we're using the Melbourne Arts Festival. You know, this is just one entity where people could volunteer.
Yes.
But I wanted you to go through it and unpack it so people who hadn't even thought about volunteering could begin to realize there's real value in doing this. And, you know, then not only do they feel good because they're making a difference and they're having an impact and they're benefiting by the personal connections and friendships that they're making, but it really could help them, right, grow professionally and make a difference in their career path.
Yes, it did for me. It definitely has made my supervisors that I've worked for take me a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, they really recognize that you have a lot more capability than they recognized at the start.
And that was part of it. I don't think that at first when I began working for, you know, a company that they really saw all that I was capable of doing.
That's kind of typical, though, I think.
Yeah. And so when I just said, okay, well, if you're not going to let me run this place, I'll go off and run that. So yeah, that's how come I'm the secretary as well as the artist chair for the Melbourne Art Festival.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Do an awesome job.
Well, thank
we
you.
have about 4 or 5 minutes left, and so I have a couple questions, and I'm just curious. You know, what do you look for in a volunteer? What are the qualities that might, if somebody's saying, well, I really don't know if I could volunteer, I'm really not sure. You know, when you just kind of describe or you think about, you know, a good volunteer, what are some of the things that you're looking for in that person?
I want a smiling face. I want open, easy to talk to, easy communication skills. I like to see somebody with interest and a little
passion.
Yes, it has to be passionate. If you're not doing this because you know you really want to,
right?
Then don't bother.
Yeah.
But by volunteering, you know, if you're lonely, these are the people you want to spend time with.
Right.
You know, if you want, you know, something to do with your life because you're not feeling real worthwhile, if you don't have much. You know, I know people have lost their
they've
loved
been
ones.
isolated, right? Go ahead.
So when they get out and they start meeting all these great people,
Right.
and it's not just our organization that has great volunteers and great people.
Certainly.
But it's, you know, you get out there and you put yourself out there, and that's what I like to see. Somebody that says, well, wherever you need me. But you have to give them something to do. You can't just say, okay. So my job as the secretary is to help our committee members that really aren't sure, but help them find a path and find a way to volunteer.
Help them determine which committee,
one
which
fits the
group
best.
really fits best for them.
And also, you can jump committees. You don't
Yeah.
have to stay in the same one.
Yeah, because you
It's-
also have a marketing and a
Yes.
patrons and a variety of other. I mean, all they have to do is go to your website.
Yeah,
Melbourne
it is
Arts,
very
what is it?
melbournearts.org. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's a lot with our organization that can do, but
Right.
when helpful people,
Yeah.
kind, considerate,
Yeah.
courteous, professional, and even if you aren't all those things, we'll still take you in and we'll make you that way.
Well, and I think that that's the thing that is really unique, again, about this community, is there is that openness, there is that possibility for them to volunteer and to come in, and there's a lot of really talented professionals that are just accessible to you, and they'll take you under your wing if you're really interested and have a commitment and a passion.
Yes, that is so true.
Perfect. Now we have about a minute, and I would love a final word of encouragement or inspiration, right, to try to help people think about, right, volunteering.
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say, you do it because you love it, but you also do it because you know you're making a difference.
Yeah.
And there's just so much out there in the world that doesn't go right. With these volunteer opportunities, it goes right and it feels right, and you never get that chance again to make that type of an impression on children and change their world in our artistic society.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you, Johanna.
no problem.
Well, on behalf of my guest and everyone here on the set of Your Career, thank you for watching, and remember, be career happy.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org.